I guess it's time to play ball, huh? What a beautiful day for football, but what a really beautiful day for baseball, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Bob Brent Stadium. My name's Russ Eisenstein. I'm the voice of the Ohio Bobcats. Today, we honor one of the program's all-time greats, Steve Swisher. I've called baseball on the radio in college and in the minors for over 2 decades. Baseball is a game made for radio. A baseball broadcast allows for time to talk about the history of the game, the history of the team, the history of the program. No program in the Mid-American Conference has the history Ohio baseball has. So many programs across the country would love to have the history and tradition of Ohio baseball. The teams, the players, the coaches, the titles, the NCAA trips, the trip to Omaha. Days like today serve as an example of all of that. Steve Swisher is an example of all of that. You all know Steve better than I, but even in just a few visits with him, he makes you feel good about yourself. He makes you inspired. He motivates you. Yesterday, I had a chance to interview him for 20, 30, 40 minutes maybe. But I could tell you that I was inspired. I was excited. I was motivated. I felt good about being myself. I felt good about the opportunities that lie ahead. I felt so good about being here today. And that's just in a small interaction. You all know him so much better than I. You all have a lifetime of that. And that should be celebrated today too, in addition to all the great things he did behind the plate and on the diamond. The past combines with the present for the future. Craig Moore has been a part of 2 MAC championship teams, 2 trips to the NCAA tournament, and he's working to get the Cats back to the diamond dance. Ladies and gentlemen, the head coach of Ohio baseball, Craig Moore.
Thanks, Russ. I'm not going to speak too long. I want to let Coach Carbone and Coach France and obviously Steve hold the floor today. But there's a couple of things that I want to get the crowd to realize from my time of getting to know Steve. You know, yesterday was the second time that I met Steve in person. You know, I think people assume that Steve and I had a prior relationship, and we really haven't. And so we've had several discussions in terms of on the phone and text and things like that. And I want to share one of them with you briefly. I got hired July 20th of 2021, and Steve Swisher was one of the first people that I called. And I said, Steve, you're probably not going to remember, but I met you back in 2013 when we had an alumni event. And he goes, no, Craig, I remember you. And I said, okay. So I just wanted to call to reintroduce myself to you and let you know that I'm the head baseball coach now, and I need your help. And he said, well, what kind of help do you need? Like, well, if you're looking for a player down here in Florida, I'll go out and watch them, I'll recruit them for you. And I said, no, I appreciate that, Steve, I do. And I said, but I'm talking more about getting the alumni back together, unified, like it needs to be, like it should be. With the size of the alumni that we have, the tradition that this program has, the pride that the alumni of the program have, I need somebody that I can connect to and reach out to those people to help our program. Okay, alumni that are here, this is your program. This is our program. Okay, and Steve said, okay. So then Steve he starts to talk about some of his times here at OU and very fondly of the opportunity that OU provided to him, not only as a student but as an athlete too. And so we talked for about 45 to 50 minutes and get off the phone and start to do some work. And about an hour later, my phone starts to ring, and it's a number I don't recognize. And so typically I just kind of let it go to my voicemail and whatever. So I get the voicemail, I pick it up, And it's Jax, and Jax goes, Steve Swisher called, and he said, we need to call you and talk to you. And I said, yeah, this is the vision for the program. I talked to Steve about it, and this is what I want. I want the alumni base to get unified again. And so we have a conversation for 20, 25 minutes, hang up the phone. 30 minutes later, the phone starts to ring again, and I'm like, I don't know who this phone number is. I'm just going to let it go to voicemail again and whatnot, and I'll check it here in a minute. Basil DeVito, okay, calls, says, Steve Swisher told me to call you. He needs our help. Okay, you need our help. And I said, yeah. So we again talk about it, and I was on my phone up until 10 o'clock that night, was talking to former players, just because of this man right here. Okay, he didn't have to do that, but he put everything to the side, not for the benefit of me, but for the benefit of the program. The program is bigger than anybody that's here, that's played in the past, that's going to be here currently, that's going to play in the future. But that's the one thing that I took from that day was he could have waited for a couple days. He could have waited till next week to start to reach out to guys, but he put everything aside, reached out to 6 or 7 guys, and I appreciate you guys reaching out to me and just kind of making this thing feel like, hey, like we have an opportunity here to do what I think we can do here with Ohio baseball moving forward. The last thing I want to say is in those conversations, Steve, they all said how much of a great teammate you were and how you put other people in front of you. There was a story where, there was a freshman away from home for the first time, away from parents that, there's still struggles there. You pulled him aside and said, hey, why don't you go have dinner with me in the dining hall and we'll talk a little bit. And that guy told me, he said, changed the rest of my outlook for my time at OU. Had another individual say, I wasn't the best player on the team, and Steve realized that, but Steve always took the opportunity after practice to work with me for 15 or 20 minutes, even though he probably knew that I was never going to play, but that's who Steve Swisher was, and that's who he is. So Steve, I appreciate you. I thank you for being engaged in our program, and I continue to look forward to building the strong relationship with you and the rest of the alumni. Thanks.
Speaking of teammates, I think it's important to notice that this current team, this current Ohio baseball team is here today. How about a nice round of applause for these current cats? Seeing the history certainly can play a part in the present and the future as well. As mentioned, when a program has the success that Ohio has had, there are many legends. Joe Carbone is certainly one. He played at Ohio and called his mom from Omaha. He coached at Ohio and guided the Green and White to a MAC title and NCAA tournament appearance in 1997. He continues to give back to the game. Plus, he was the first head coach I worked with here, and our pre- and post-game interviews were no doubt a highlight of his career. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Carbone.
Thank you, Russ, and Craig. Good luck to you and the guys this year. I'm sure you're happy to be here this morning after a big Friday night last night. So, guys, thanks a lot for being here. Hey, it's my honor to be here with this dedication for this well-deserved retiring of Steve's number. I want to thank, first of all, Ryan and Julie and Amy for getting going on the criteria for retiring numbers. I know I talked to previous administrations, and the answer I always got, well, there's no criteria, there's no protocol retiring numbers. And so Julie and her administration have started this, and so we appreciate what they're doing. I'm going to talk about Swish's freshman year. We know about his big league career and his great career he was playing when he played for Jerry. But I'm going to talk about his freshman year that not too many people know about what happened his freshman year. You know, we had a veteran team coming back in 1970. We thought we were pretty good, and we had just got done, half of us playing in the Illinois League with some and against some of the best players in the country, big leaguers, and we held our own against them. So when we got back in 1970, we said, hey, listen, we're going to put away our immaturity, whining, our work hard, get as good as we could be, because we want to call our moms from Omaha. Didn't have cell phones back there. You had pay phones. Probably too many mothers, if we got to Omaha, would get to make the trip. So we decided that was our rally cry. Call your mom from Omaha. So in 1970, the NCAA made freshmen eligible to play varsity baseball. Now, before that, there was a field on the other side of Peden Stadium called the freshman field. So in the spring, about 130 guys tried out for the freshman team. There were already 50 guys on the varsity. There were no limits at that time. So it was survival of the fittest. So we used to have wood bats that we played with, and they were all broken and taped and nailed. And we would get a new bat for inter-squad games when we played the varsity on Wednesdays. So that was your day to show your stuff. And you come back sophomore year, and now you had to make the team all over again. Well, we didn't think there was any way any freshman could make our team that we're going to have in 1970. So we get word that there's this stud guy who's all Parkersburg, all West Virginia, you know, and he's playing on the basketball team. So we go out and watch him play. We think, well, this guy's a pretty good athlete, you know, maybe. So Swish shows up for winter practices after basketball, and he's taking ground balls with Mike Schmidt out at shortstop. Pretty good looking freshman, but he's not going to play. And so I'm at second base, and I'm working with Swish on double plays and kind of explain to him, you know, how to go outside the bag and inside the bag and all that and everything. And after a few weeks, his first practice, at his first ground ball, it was funny as could be. He threw a seed about 90 miles an hour across the diamond. And I took a look at Dennis Haggerty, our third baseman. He winked at me, and I winked at him. We go, this guy can throw, you know. So Coach Wren, I was the captain of the team, and Coach kind of confided in me on some things. Like he'd say, I hear so-and-so's going uptown on Tuesdays and drinking beer. You better get a hold of him and get him straightened out before I have to talk to him. So I'd always have to go be the bad guy, you know, and let you know, hey, don't drink beer on Tuesdays. Maybe you hide somewhere, go to another bar on Wednesday. You know what I mean? So he has to find out about it, and I have to come talk to you about it and everything, you know? So Coach comes to me, and he knows I want to get into coaching. And so he'd always ask me these questions. Okay, you're a coach now. What are you going to do about this? Okay, you're a coach now. What are you going to do about that? So he comes up to me and he says, you see those two guys at shortstop? I said, yeah. I said, pretty good athletes, aren't they? Oh, yeah, they're a lot better than me. He said, well, you're going to make a position change. And he says, what do you think of us making Swisher change his position? I said, I don't care where you change his position to, as long as it's not second base. Because I'm a senior, I want to play this year. No, he's not a second baseman. He says, we're going to make a catcher out of him. If he'll go along with it, if he is dedicated, if he wants to do it and commits to it, he'll be a great catcher. So I know Coach talked to you, and I think it was a sock to the jaw, right? You know, oh man, how can I go be a catcher? He had never caught ever before. And usually catchers are guys that have caught since Little League. You know, it's a tool of ignorance, and, you know, you take the dumbest kid in Little League and say, okay, you're a catcher. All right, good. You know what I mean? So Swish was kind of on the fence at first, I think. And I remember talking to him, and I said, Swish, Coach thinks you could be a great catcher. I said, just get with he and Coach England and commit to it. And he said to me at that time, he said, Captain, I'm going to be the best catcher I can be. So I knew if things were going to be good. So Coach Rand and Coach England worked with him every day on his fundamentals. Every day they were working, receiving, blocking, throwing, fielding bunts, and you could tell he was going to be a great one. Well, he makes the Southern trip. So we had 2 freshmen on the Southern trip, right? You and Bo Clyber. Yeah. So we made the freshmen sit at the back of the bus. And we did things and said things to our guys back then that probably you couldn't do nowadays. I think it's called hazy. You know what I mean? So as we're now on our Southern trip, we're driving through West Virginia. So we start calling him Briar. Okay, that's a name for West Virginians. And then we would ask him when house paint is going to be discovered in West Virginia. So he had to listen to this verbal abuse all the way down. Well, once we get on our Southern trip, Swish start catching batting practice, the whole batting practice, which is unheard of. I was talking to Craig. Back in those days, pitchers threw batting practice. Nowadays, we can't get enough pitchers to throw strikes. We'll be out here forever, you know what I mean? So we got coaches throwing them now. But Swish caught batting practice, the whole batting practice. And then after batting practice, he'd get the hit. And if he did a good job, coach might give him an extra swing, okay? We have 7 cuts, he might get 8. So we start calling him the coach's pet, you know what I mean? So we're playing Wake Forest, his first game. So coach says, Swish, get in there and catch the 9th inning. And man, he was wired. He's slapping his shin guards on. He's putting his chest protector on backwards. He's getting his mask on. So he's going out there for the first time in his life. It's a Division I game, playing a Southern school. He's going to catch 9th inning because we have a pretty good lead. Well, a terrible thing happened. The first hitter up swings and hits a major league pop-up over by the Wake Forest dugout. And we're in the third base dugout. We're yelling, Swish, up, up, up. And you can tell he goes, oh my God, there's a pop-up. Okay? So he runs over to the first base dugout. And of course, he overruns the ball. And he starts backpedaling and running and falls flat on his face. And the ball lands about 6 feet from him. And we start laughing. And we're not just smirking. We got a belly laugh. We're hugging each other. We're laughing so hard. So Coach Wren turns around and he says to us, that's my fault. That's my fault. He said, Dick, how many pop-ups did we hit Swisher before we went on the spring trip? And England says, none, Coach. He goes, that's our fault, Dick. And now we go, oh, he's even a bigger pet. Hey, Carbone, did Ray ever tell you it was his fault when you missed the ground ball? No. Hey, Haggerty, did Ray ever tell you that when you struck out it was his fault? No. But Swisher, it's our fault because Swisher missed this pop-up. So the next day, we go out to the field, and there at the field are Coach England and Swish, and there are baseballs all over the place. And Coach England's hitting pop-ups to Swish. He's sweating, his face is red. And so England said, okay, that's enough, Swish. And I said, Swish, how many balls did Dick hit you? He said, I lost count at 50. So, Mr. Pop-Up, as we call Coach England, and we always ask Coach Wren, how did Coach England get so good at hitting pop-ups? He says, well, hell, when he was a player, that's all he hit was pop-ups. So now, fast forward, we go to the College World Series. We get there, and Swish is the first freshman to ever play in the College World Series. Now, after freshman year, I got into coaching. I'm at Marshall, and I see Swish play as a sophomore against him. Then I see him play as a junior. And at the time, a bunch of us were having our fling with professional baseball. And when I'd run into our former teammates, they'd say, "How's Swish doing?" I said, "Man, he's killing it. He's a stud." Senior year, playing for Jerry for 3 years. Jerry did a great job with him. He becomes the #1 draft choice, the Chicago White Sox. And that's a whole nother story. But I've probably talked too long already, but I will say this. I've watched more college baseball games than anybody here, I think it's safe to say. That's in 1966. As a player and a coach, and as a coach here at Ohio University, I was on the All-American Committee with the NCAA, and we picked the All-American team every year. So I saw some of the best players in the country, some of the best teams, and I'm now still an NCAA rep, so I do regionals and super regionals. So I see some great players and some great guys. In my opinion, those of you that know me a little bit know how I value my own opinion very highly. But in my opinion, Steve Swisher is the best college catcher I have ever seen in 56 years of college baseball. So Swish, congratulations to you and your family, and thanks for being my friend for the last 52 years.
In this day and age of podcasts, I think Joe and Steve and heck, Nick in there as well. We've got a football broadcast later today. If you guys just want to jump on the network 4, we're on at 1. You guys would be just fine. I think most fans would say, get Russ and Rob out of there for that trio. That'd be great. When anyone is the head coach of a Division I program for 15 years, that person impacts so many lives on and off the field. And we're hearing the stories today for sure. It's not easy to follow a legend in any line of work, and particularly it isn't easy doing so after Bob ran. Jerry Franz coached at Ohio from 1973 to 1988. We talked about the continuity and the legends in this program. He coached 3 major leaguers. One of them, Steve Swisher. Ladies and gentlemen, Jerry Franz.
If you expect me to talk like Carbone, you're wrong. I'm from coal mines of Western Pennsylvania, and I'm glad I can even say a sentence. But, this has been a great experience being at Ohio University to begin with. And we're blessed. When I came down here, I came down here to play football, which I did. I was a captain of the football team. But Coach Wren, one of the days, came out, and when I was playing, it was American Legion. A lot of you played American Legion. And they watched the game, and all of a sudden I've had a great game, doing things. And he came over and recruited me, about playing baseball. Went through this whole thing, and about going to school next year. And I said, I'm already in college. So what happens, because of that, we had a great relationship from that point on in a lot of ways. But Bob Rand was an incredible teacher. I don't know how to explain this, but he had the ability to repeat things over and over and over again. When you felt like vomiting, you knew that you understand what he was talking about. You'd be over at the gym over at Grover Center. He had eyes behind his back. He knew what everybody was doing, and stuff. And he would never stop talking. But he would say the same things over and over again. It's repetition, repetition, repetition. And I guarantee you, and I had all my teammates with me last night, and we went over that. It was unbelievable how many times that occurred. But I think, there's so many things. And then what happened is Coach Wren resigned. And for some odd reason, they asked me if I'd come in for an interview for the job. I really didn't know if I was ready for this. And I was wondering about all that stuff when I came in. But what happened, is I talked to Coach about this and everything, and he told me a lot of things. And I said, well, Coach, what do you think? And he said, go, whatever. And then what happened is that after that point, we spent a lot of time together explaining about the program. What's going on in the program? Who are the ball players? What can I look forward to? What are you doing about transportation? And that's all this stuff. I just want to find out, and they end up hiring me during this time. And then, he would go through all the personnel, everybody on the team he talked about. Now, I'm not going to tell you about everybody. I'm just going to talk to you about one. His name was Steve Swisher. And what he talked about Steve, he says, Steve, we talking during, I can't remember when he got halfway through talking about everybody. And he says, Steve Swisher is someone very special. He is going to be a major leaguer. And there's no question about it. And he starts talking about this. He talks about he has a great catcher. He wasn't a catcher, became a catcher. He has a great arm. He has a lot of strength. He can hit the ball. Well, he is respected by everybody in the ball team. Right now. And and he's telling me all this other stuff. I said, wait a second, Coach. What do you want me to do? You want me to shake hands with him, or you want me to genuflect? When I meet him. So from that point on, it was a great. And I'll tell you, I learned an awful lot from Steve Swisher. I knew a little bit about catching, but boy, I learned a lot in a hurry when that was the case. And it was just ever since that time, I've really gone back and trying to get a hold of Swisher for a lot of reasons. But I'm not going to go through all these specific type of things because I don't have them like Joe has them right now. But all I know is I was been so impressed with Steve. I watched him when he got called up for the first. I think it was the first game to the Cubs, right? The first game, the Cubs. Connie and I want to make sure we got up there for this first game. With my driving, that was an experience. Going up there in Chicago, I thought Athens was bad. It's went to Chicago. But we got to see Swish play his first games, and that was really proud about. Excited about that. Actually went out and had a beer lately too, I think, and had a good time. But I think that what happens is that Steve was a very special person. He was exceptionally good. I mean, there was no question about it right in the beginning. And he was respectful for all the other ball players, even the guys that were not playing. He was always respectful to them too, and he helped a lot of the guys end up to be very good ball players. A lot of it because of the way he handled it. But I think that playing at Ohio University was different. I played for Coach Wren, played both baseball and football. I played for Coach Wren, who was just an incredible person. But I saw a lot of that. A lot of his influence came on everybody else, and that goes with Steve Swisher too. But it was great. That's all I can really tell you because I don't know anymore. But I'm saving it for some time. I don't know when. But it is really an honor to be honored. I'm very honored to be asked to come to this anyhow because I enjoy, seeing the baseball players, doing this and going through what they went through. Ohio University is a special place. And it was for me, and it is for you. And I wish you the best this year for the rest of your career. You're in a great place. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Julie Cromer, and I'm the Director of Athletics here at Ohio University. And I have the distinct privilege of introducing the man of the hour, Steve Swisher. So I'd like to talk about a couple of things. I'd like to talk about significance. I'd like to talk about the importance of legacy. And I'd like to talk a little bit about what history means to us. Significance is being one of the best, if not the best, college catchers in the history of baseball. Significance, you can clap to that. I've got a couple more. Great. Significance is being a first-round draft pick in Major League Baseball. Significance is being a 3-time All-MAC selection. Significance is being on a college World Series team and getting to call your mom from Omaha. Had not heard that one yet. Significance are the numbers and the accolades and the things that you read about in the paper every day, and those things are important. In order to meet such significant marks, you have to have some talent. I don't care what Joe Carbone says about you. I happen to believe you must have had some talent, and as the daughter of a former collegiate and minor league catcher, I happen to think you probably had some intelligence as well. But significance is also your passion. It's the way you show up. It's the way you work hard. It's the way you are willing to take every pitch in batting practice. Significance is the teammate you are. And it's the way you embrace the opportunity to be coached by a man like Coach Wren. Significance comes in a lot of ways. And for our players who are here today, the reason why it is so important to me that we think and talk and teach about our history is because significance happens when you're willing to embrace the potential. The potential of what this opportunity is for you. I know, as 18 to 22-year-olds, it's hard. It was hard for me. It's hard for you to imagine where life is going to take you in 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 or a few more years. But today is important because it gives you a glimpse of what significance might be in your lives. We talk about that a lot throughout the department. As you know, Joe, and you alluded to, Craig can tell you, when we hired Craig and promoted him to be our head coach, we immediately talked about the importance of reconnecting to our history. A lot of cynical people will think that there were reasons for that might be part of the rationale, but the biggest thing we talked about was that our history can help our student athletes now, our players now, imagine things that they cannot see for themselves today. So Steve, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to amplify your story as part of our history. It is important to fill our spaces and to fill their training spaces with the visual representation of those who have come before. That is why it's important to play in Bob Wren Stadium. That is why it's important to continue to add the stories to our outfield wall. I'll be honest with you, Steve, I don't know if they'll look out there every day, guys, maybe not every single day, but most days they're going to spend some time training. And there'll be a time when Craig is giving them some of his best wisdom, or the staff is trying to reiterate what Coach Moore just said, and they might look around a little bit and take in the scenery around them, and they might land their eyes on a couple of names out in the outfield that will remind them of their potential, and it will remind them of their opportunity to reach significance, whatever that may be in their lives. When we called you to talk to you about today, I think we caught you off guard. Am I right? You think I'm totally right. Well, do you mind if I tell this story? Okay. So Craig and I got together and arranged a time that we could reach Steve by phone. And so you knew we would be calling. It was somewhat prearranged. It wasn't completely out of the blue. And, we prepared a little bit. We said, well, you say this part, and you say this part. And, together we're going to ask him if he would allow us to memorialize his legacy in Bob Brennan Stadium. And we were excited to make the call. We had no doubt in our mind he would be excited and accept what we thought, right? So we called. We get on the phone and start talking, and Steve's got some stuff he's ready to tell us. He clearly had prepared for the conversation as well. He had some stories and some platitudes and some things he wanted to share with us, which were great. You were listening? Yeah. And so, at some point, Craig, as he is very skilled in doing, sort of politely jumps in and says, "Well, hey, Steve, this is great. We've got something actually we would like to talk to you about." And then he goes into his talking points and about his program and his guys and all great things and how much we've appreciated Steve being connected to the guys, sending them the messages, reconnecting with the program. So he does his part, and then he hands off to me, and I talk about legacy and facilities and how important it is to have our names on our structure. And I don't think we realized that the setup sounded like it was going in a different direction, perhaps. So I say, so our question for you is, would you give us the opportunity to honor you and your legacy and help us tell the story of our program by putting your name and jersey number on our outfield wall so that our players can see and be reminded every day? And we had, may I tell the whole story? The first thing we hear is a voice we had not heard before in the conversation. A female voice who immediately said, "What?" Because I don't think you were expecting it either. And then there was silence for a really, really, really long time. And I think at some point one of us said, Steve, are you there? What do you think? Do you have an answer? And I'll let you tell the rest of your story and your comments, as I know you want to. I'm pretty sure he thought we were going to be asking for something else. But I have to tell you something. We are fortunate to be generously supported by a number of individuals in a number of ways. There is nothing more valuable than giving us your story and your name. There is nothing more valuable than allowing us to have your family be memorialized in this way and your career be remembered in this way. There is no amount of anything you might have thought we were going to be asking you for that can make up for the gift you have all given to us by allowing your name and your number and your legacy to be a permanent part of this stadium. And we thank you so, so much for your generosity. And I want to just say one quick note to Emmy and Sailor. We are delighted to have the two of you here with us today. I know this is a lot, like a lot of strangers and a lot of people wearing green, and you might kind of be thinking, what is all this about? But the day will come as you move through your lives and you go wherever the adventures of life take you. You might one day want to hear some stories about Papa. And when you do, all you have to do is come right back to Athens. He'll be here, and we have all kinds of stories you haven't even heard yet that as you get older, you just may want to hear. So come back anytime. To the entire family, come back anytime. Steve, I know you're coming back every now and then. We appreciate this gift that you have given to us on behalf of our players, our staff, our alums, and the community of Athens. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. It is my honor to now introduce the man of the hour, Steve Swisher.
I'm not good. He's good. I guess I can put on my base stuff. Game here. want you to bear with me. I've been a mess for the last 2 weeks. Only because I know my story is different. And I've been blessed. Now, it's hard for me to talk about myself. I never did enjoy talking about myself. But I can talk about a hell of a lot of positive things about other people, things they've done, and everything else. One of the things about it, I've had a great support system. You know, I just want you to meet some of my family, you know. Right, Mark and Marissa, his son and his wife. My sister and her friend JD. Now, she's the smartest part of the family. Steve and Kim McKinley, my brother-in-law, and I guess, as he says, we're brothers from different mothers. And it's Christy's sister. By the time we got back here, and their son Dana and his wife Erica, and my part-time bodyguard Jack. And then my other son Nick. I had a talk with my daughter-in-law this morning, Joanna, and she wanted to be here, but she couldn't. She's filming the 3rd session of Sweet Magnolias, and she wished she could be here, and we're proud she's a part of the family. But my 2 favorite girls, my 2 granddaughters, Emmy and Sailor. And then the leader of the group, and probably the woman that brought out the best man in me, my wife, Christy. But the other thing about it is, it's not all about me. I'll take 51% of the credit. 49% goes to the tradition of Ohio University. And when I came here, I thought I was a pretty good athlete. Well, when I got here, Coach Trim thought it was better if I switched position. And today means more to me than ever. All those times about trying to prove people wrong paid off. And I want to say that having my name on that wall next to the greatest baseball player that ever came to Ohio University and went through here, Mike Schmidt, is an honor. It's that second name. It's totally about dreams and goals. So as we talked to the team the other day, don't give me that stuff, but you can't do it. Because I'm living proof that maybe more, it wasn't just the physical things to learn about catching. It was learning mentally who the hell I was, what I wanted to do. I hated college, hated the cliques, everybody making fun of everybody else. You can't handle that. Well, here I am, don't know anybody, don't like college. So one of my buddies and I were thinking about, well, maybe we just drop out of college, just join the Marine Corps. Well, that would be exciting. But I'm from West Virginia, and that's what you do when you graduate from high school. You're going to do something for your country. So the thing about it was, my mom and dad, they've been gone for 16 or 17 years now. Found out and drove to college. He said, we heard you thinking about dropping out of school. I said, yeah, I've considered it. Well, as mothers go, you're what? I don't want you doing that. Well, my sister and I got in trouble, and she usually got everything her way. And so, anyway, we'd get in trouble, and the only way my mom knew that we were telling the truth was she'd make us swear to God. Now, in 71 years, I have not lied to God. I might have told some other black. So before they left, I promised that I would stay in school. So my mom had recommended to me that they thought the best thing for me to do was go off to the freshman basketball team and meet some other people and see what happens there. Well, the greatest thing that happened was I see this guy in these pinstripes officiating one of my basketball games, and hell, every time I turned around or touched somebody, he called a foul on me. Dick England, he was one of the assistant baseball coaches. So I stayed in. And the only thing that I want to tell you is there's certain little things that we have to realize and find out what motivates us. Ain't nobody going to do you any favors. You want those opportunities. You learn what it takes. You work. Find out who you are. And I've been blessed with some great teammates over the years, and some of them you've never even heard of. They're successful people. They were successful teammates, and they still carry on the tradition of Ohio University baseball. But one of the greatest things that ever happened to me was that my mom and dad were my best friends. Now, we didn't come from a lot. My dad worked at EI DuPont for 40 years. My mom worked for Dill's department store, so we were Parkersburg. But the thing about it was, from what we understand at Ohio University baseball, they don't give out free trophies. You want a trophy there, you're going to have to earn it. Well, that's where we're at in America today. I'm not changing. I am old school too. I still try to think I'm pretty cool dude. My two boys are laughing. But the thing about it was, my mom and dad gave me the greatest gift. I bet any person here today would love to receive themselves. That gift they gave me, they believed in me. I've never forgotten. No, I'm just an athlete. My other life is to be a person that can contribute positively. Do whatever you can. You know, I was telling the guys yesterday in the clubhouse, hey, don't be getting on my case about being 71 years old. But the thing about it is, I'm not 7, I'm just getting older. I ain't never going to be old. But I will, hopefully, thank God, I'll live a little bit longer to get older. But I've learned so much. At Ohio University, it started for me. And I asked Mike Wren to talk to the players with me the other day, because I wanted them to hear firsthand all about Bob Wren. When he asked me to start catching, I thought, what in the hell is he talking about? I've never caught in my life. He said, well, listen, Swish, he said, today's Friday, you going home today? Like, yeah, I am. And he said, well, listen, what you do me a favor. When you get home at the dinner table, he said, I want you to ask your parents what they think you become the catcher. I'm thinking, I already know the answer to that one. So I'm driving home and I'm thinking, when can I ask this question? Now, I got to pick a good time or whatever. So about halfway through the meal, I said, hey, Dad, Mom, I talked to Coach Wren today. And they're going, oh, you did? What do you have to say? I said, well, you told me when I got home to ask you what you would think of me as becoming a catcher. All of a sudden, my dad says, what the hell did he say? And I said, he said he wanted to know what you think of me becoming a catcher. And the next comment was, hell no. Well, that was the beginning. And so when I went back to workouts for that Monday, I got this great speech made up. Well, you know. I ain't going to win this battle if that's what he really wants to do. So I'm getting ready to walk into Grover Center. That's where we used to work out. I get close to the front doors, and all of a sudden I stopped and I thought, oh God, Coach Trim might be on the other side of these doors here. So I walked all the way around in the back of Grover Center. So I could go in the back and I wouldn't see Coach Trim. So I get in, I'm walking up the hallway or the corridor, whatever you want to call it. All of a sudden I hear the door close. I look up, there was a man. I got this speech made up. And I get up close to him, puts his hand on my shoulder, and he says, Swish, your catching gear is in the locker room. And you're going to work out in 30 minutes upstairs with a graduate assistant named Bill Cater Young, who passed away last year as a retired state trooper in Cleveland, who I always give thanks for him, for the little things that he taught me that you could build. We want to hand people some difficult things that they can't handle. So he helped me get started. I made the southern trip. And I told you guys the other day, you know what? There's nothing simple in life. If you want to get to the top of the mountain, you got to learn who you are. You got to learn what you do. But you can never fail to have a belief in yourself. And if you're a teammate, be one. I'm so sick of this I, me stuff. Because when you're a team and you want to accomplish things, you have to have contributing people around you. May not be the best, but they can help you win. Bob Brand hated to lose, but he loved to win. And I think I was a little bit like that until I got around him. So when I started working out and I made that southern trip, I told you guys yesterday, when you think about this today in 2022, I caught batting practice every day. And I warmed up pitchers. I never played. Hell, I'm not going to take credit. I'm going to take credit that I was a teammate on that 1970 team. I didn't do a damn thing. How many young men would do that today? Not many. I'm sure there's some, Mike. If you want to get better, you got to work, and you got to learn, and you got to do it better than everybody else. So when I see those green and white shirts, you want to wear them? You wear them with pride. You wear them like a champion. You do the work that you need to do, and you do it for you. You do it for your teammates, and you do it for Ohio University. Because when you get older, you go, oh God, you went to Ohio University? Oh yeah, yeah. Even graduated. Oh yeah. The thing about it is, I told you guys yesterday, one thing I want to ever forget. Don't you ever forget the men who wore that uniform before you. As you know, in athletics today, we've got a hell of a lot of people that can talk the talk, but they can't walk the walk. Sometimes they need to find that security blanket, whether that's a teammate, whether that's a mentor. One of the most important jobs in America today, for me, is coaching and teaching. Because they spend more time with the kids than their parents do. Because a lot of times they both work or this or that. Let me tell you something. When those standards start, you hand out yours. You hand out your standards to be the top, to be the best. And on those, in that journey, yeah, there's going to be rocks in the road. But you know what? You're at Ohio University now. You want to be a champion, you got to learn to work. Here's a guy right here. Never got to the College World Series. I was scared like that. Didn't screw up. But we got eliminated, and it was one of the few games that I played. But to not be so serious, the funny part about that whole year, besides drop out of school or whatever, we'd had the riots here at Ohio University. All those people from Kent State came down, and it was just total chaos. So the thing about it is we had to go to Ted Blazewski's baseball school in Bainbridge, Ohio. Even I know you'll relate to this, but hell, I can remember stuff 50 and 60 years ago and can't tell you what day it is. So we'd go there Monday through Friday to work out, come back to Grover Center, and the guys had cars, and people would pick them up, do the same thing over and over. So Coach Wren wanted to start Barnstorming. And that year we had one of the greatest college pitchers in America that year, Eddie Robbins. If I remember, Joe, what was he, 15-1? Oh. So we went Hillsborough. Is where I don't know. He was from Hillsborough, so we went up there to play a game. So we go up there, and as usual, I'm doing my thing. You go down, one of the pitchers up or whatever. Ram comes over and he goes, "Hey, Swisher, I want you to catch some outfield." Well, I've been in Wake Forest and embarrassed the whole organization. Doing the leading tower of Pisa, and I'm getting another chance. Can't screw us up. We got, thank God, we got 3 outs. Game's over. So we're in the locker room, you take your clothes off and stuff, and Tom Smith happened to be locker next to me. And all of a sudden, taking my shirt off or whatever, and started taking my pants off, and Tom says, "Hey, Brian, did you wear that? You wear that out there to catch a 9th inning?" I said, "Yeah, of course I did. I didn't screw up either." He goes, "No, that's the point." He goes, "Where's your cup?" I knew I was a lucky man, right? True story. So the thing about it is, my life so turned around when I came to Ohio University. Sort of good. Came in, had a choice. You want to catch? If you don't, we're not sure what we're going to do. Well, my ex-teammates know that I'm hard-headed as hell. If I'm going to get to the mountaintop, I'm going to do it. I'm going to find out what it takes to get to the top. You talk about work. Joe talked about Dick England. Been a big part of my life. Getting all those pop-ups. Well, I got one thing to tell Dick England. I know in his lifetime he's had a hell of a lot of back problems. I've had one neck surgery because all them foul balls he hit. Dick, I got news for you, buddy. I don't think I ever dropped another. That's the truth. But I'm going to tell you what, I learned a lot about myself. And we think sometimes we're athletes and we're not any different than anybody else. One thing about us is when you're an athlete, they may not know your name. But they know you're an athlete. And you know what? You stand for guys like me, coaches, administrators. And don't you ever forget it. Because we're not going to forget it because we're your best friends. We're your friends. We've been through this journey. And we understand it's not all glory. That's why Ohio University baseball has become famous with respect and trust because people never gave up. And when they worked to be a champion. I followed you guys last year, and I know you never quit. And I was talking to some of the other guys on the 70 team, and they said, "Well, Swish, how'd they do it?" And I said, "Hey, they're a pretty good club. They never quit." They said, "Did they win a ring?" I'm not being a smart ass. That's the way the standards used to be. I said, "Nah, they didn't win a ring." They go, "Well, that's not good enough." I know that feeling. I know it's not good enough. Because my first day here, some of the older guys said to me, they said, "Hey, kid, how many rings you want to win?" I'm trying to be cool. I'm a freshman. I said, "Well, a couple." that'd be good. And everybody looked at me like I had 3 heads. Are you a couple? Has anybody here told you that we play to win rings every year? Well, that's where I'm at, standing here telling you. Maybe I'd raise your standards a little bit higher. Maybe you're not giving yourself enough credit to understand what this tradition is all about. And they remember my name and I would say, that bastard's crazy. And I might be. But I'm going to tell you what, if I didn't strive to get to the mountain, and I didn't have people around me to help me, I wouldn't be standing here today. So the thing about it is, just a couple things that I want to leave with you before I go. I never really got philosophical until I got a little bit older. So, I got it. But you know what? You have to believe that attitude is so important. I've seen so many great athletes didn't have the mental makeup to be a champion. But trust me, I know. You get to the big leagues, what do you do for me today? Right now, baseball is just like forever. It's a team game played by a group of individuals. You better put your numbers up if you want to get people's attention. If you want to be a champion, you better do the thing with 2 strikes that you should be doing to help the team win. Because it's not all about you. You're going to do your thing. And you know what? What kind of team we have? I look around here and I saw some of my buddies I haven't seen for a while. I love those guys.
He's already up there. Yeah.
I've always said, 1 or 2 athletes can make a difference. 3 or 4, 5, 6, you can win with some of those people. But if you want to be a champion, you win with the whole player. I'm here today because of Ohio University. I can stand here and kiss my own butt forever. I don't like that. I like the opportunity to say, you know what, you want to be somebody? Yeah. And Nick, your favorite one is you got to find a way to go the distance. You may be good today, what about tomorrow? What about next month? What about next year? What about the people that you represent? And the day's going to come. You got your own family. What are you going to tell your kids? Same thing we have. We want you to be the best that you can possibly be. It doesn't make any difference what it is. Because when you set those standards higher, put a target on your back. God, what a great feeling. Because it's always better to feel like a winner than to feel like a winner. One of the things that I want to share with you, short and I'll shut my mouth. You can see my wife looking at me right now. Are you still talking? Well, this is the only time I really get a chance to talk. Am I good? If you young men, I didn't call you guys boys, but young men. I'm about winning. I'm not sure I know a whole lot about using because the people I've been around all week. You look at them today, if they weren't in professional sports, they're in professional business. And they're successful. Because if they learn to think about other people besides themselves, maybe they close the window. They'll close the door because they understand the game within the game. And they learned that here at Ohio University. And the ones that aren't, they're lying. Because all I know is Bob Ring. I know the coaches that I had that were here, a great mentor. Because it wasn't about just being a great player. You better be as good a person as you possibly can. And for you young guys, you young men, ability It's what you're capable of doing. Motivation determines what you do. And attitudes determine how well you do it. We're back to the same thing. What attitude. I'd love to see you guys work. I'm a founder. I can't do it anymore. Hell, I'm still thinking 30, and I know I can't do it like I used to. But I got a hell of a heart. So for me to stand up here today, it's a feeling, it's hard to explain. My heart is as full of happiness of starting in a career that a whole bunch of people never thought you could be successful. You know, I appreciate all the people who have supported me over the years. 71 years is a hell of a long time. Jesus. I got news for you. I also want to thank all the second guessers and all the naysayers. Yeah, he's pretty good. We'll see how good he is. I thank them. Those people are my inspiration. But my parents told me from the first day that they believed in me. Well, if that's the comment you get, better do something about it. I've told Nick, I told my granddaughter who wanted to live to be 100. He said, well, you better get your ass in gear. Last thing I want to share with you is I am a motivation guy. I read a lot of Lou Holtz stuff. East Liverpool, Ohio, great coach, great motivator. I came across the thing. You want to get to the mountaintop, it's up to you. Lou Holtz said, and I hope that every time they look at that out there, they'll ask themselves 3 questions. And I ask myself almost every day. These 3 questions, they'll determine your success or your failure. Number 1, if you don't want to do it, you don't want to strive to be the best, maybe you ought to move on. I know what this program is. I know the successful people that it's produced. You need to make up your mind when you want to be a part of it and put that uniform on. And he says, do people trust me to do my best? Very simple. Yep. I tried to strive every day so that people could trust me to be the best that I could be every day. Second one, am I, as a person or an athlete, committed to the task at hand? Too many times we get those confrontations. We happen to have some adversity. It's like, well, I don't know. Bob Green said, he'd probably tell you to lace him up and let's go. Because he wasn't ever afraid of going for a win. And the last one, not the least one, do I care about other people on the show? I've been blessed. I never thought this day would come. A lot of different reasons. As you can tell, I make up these speeches for 5,000. And if there's 5, I can give you that. As long as I can get through one person. When I look out here, yeah, I am getting soft, 71. Because the commander's not supposed to show his emotion. He's the tough guy, man. You gotta keep everybody in line, you gotta educate, you know. I was scared because the last 2 weeks been the most emotional. Emotional reason my life. As I look back, it wasn't supposed to be this way, guys. It wasn't supposed to be this way. Maybe it was. Didn't make me any less of a person. All it says is, you want to get to the top of the mountain? Go for it. All right, there's not much else left. I appreciate everything you've done for me in my life. And I ain't stopping yet. Thank you.